This is a res story I heard near Cherokee, North Carolina. There was this guy who said when he was younger and he lived with his parents that his dad would, at night, they had these pieces of plywood attached to hinges that they would close over the windows and they would padlock. And he always wondered why every night his dad would padlock the windows shut. Well, one day he decided to ask his father and he said, "Father, why do you lock the windows at night? Like, what are you trying to keep out?" And his dad just looks at him and says, "You don't ask about that. We don't talk about it. Like, you ask anymore, you're going to be grounded. You're going to be in trouble." And he was like, surprised that his dad was so angry when he'd asked that question. And so he always wondered in the back of his mind, like, what was he trying to keep out of the house? Well, one night he is in his bedroom and he's having trouble sleeping. And he looks over at his alarm clock and it's exactly 3:03 a.m. And he starts hearing, and he hears this whistling, like coming from outside of the house. And he keeps hearing it over and over again. So he gets up and he goes out into the living room and he goes, and his dad is out there kind of frantically moving back and forth, pacing around. And he goes, "Dad, why are you, like, what is that whistling? Like, why are you up and what is that whistling sound? Like, are you making that?" And he goes, "No, stop talking about it. Look, you need to go back into your bedroom and go to sleep. It'll be all right." And he said his dad was just like terrified. And so he went back into his bedroom and he said it went on for a little bit and then it stopped. And he said he started to realize, like, late at night, every time at 3:03 a.m., right, he would hear whistling and it would sound like it was coming from outside the house. And his dad would be up, just sort of walking the hallways, walking the floors, like freaking out. So, he was always confused about what this sound was. So one day he goes over to the neighbor's house and he goes, "At night we hear this whistling sound and it happens every night, at the same time. Like, do you know anything about it? Do you hear the whistling?" And he said, the neighbor said, "You need to go home right now." Like, and his neighbor wouldn't talk about it and was like creeped out and like instantly like went inside his house. So he kept trying to get it out of people in town. Like, does anybody know about like this whistling sounds that happen at night? Like, do you know what that is? No one would talk about it. So one night he is like hanging out with his brother in his bedroom, and they decided they were going to kind of stay up late telling some scary stories. Well, uh, at like 3:03 in the morning, they hear, and they hear the whistling. And he tells his brother, like, "Do you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Every morning I hear that at like 3:03 and like dad freaks out and stuff." And his brother's like, "Well, why don't you just like try and open one of the windows up and, see if you can get the key, unlock the padlock, and look out the window?" And he's like, "What? No, are you kidding? Like, dad would freak out. Dad would freak out." And his brother's like, "Well, if you're not brave enough, I'll go do it." So he said his brother like snuck out into his parents' bedroom and got like his dad's keys and went over to one of the windows, unlocked it, and then moved the plywood away from the window. And when he looked out the window, he sort of just jumped back and he turned around and had just this look of dread on his face. And he didn't talk, he didn't say anything. And so he kept asking his brother, like, "What did you see? What did you see?" And his brother wouldn't say anything. And his brother's like, "I'm going to go to bed." And he said, right as his brother started walking to the bedroom, all of a sudden at the door, he hears boom, 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 boom. Someone is knocking at the door. And he hears it again, boom, 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 this loud knocking. And he goes up to the door and gets really close. And all of a sudden, his dad comes running out and grabs him and says, "Do not open that door, son." And he's like, "Why? Who's out there? Like, who's outside?" And he's like, we can't say anything about it. We don't talk about it. Like, everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay." And he said all night long, they heard the knocking on the door. So the next morning, when he gets up, right, his brother is very, very ill. And it's like his brother just got worse and worse and then eventually passed away. And he said he always attributed his brother what he had seen out of that window. Like, maybe that is what was the cause of what happened to him. And he said still to this day, his father will not talk about it, what was outside the house.